my cozy little corner of the internet. No, I'm not letting one rip. My chair's very long time no see. I'm Charlie the Vampiric Barbie. You always got them the wrong way round. You ain't seen me for a hot minute. I'm very sorry. I have been bogged down with life, doing life. As you can see, new backdrop, new setting. I moved up to Sheffield earlier this year with my partner, and I've been working a full-time job. I'm also a perfectionist without fault. Charlie's biggest enemy is Charlie, and also just spent my 25th birthday in Disneyland Paris, and I've also just come back from the Love of Horror this weekend just gone, which was great fun. I've also been busy taking solo trips to the cinema, and on Tuesday I went to go and see Black Phone 2, which I absolutely loved, so I wanted to yap about it. I haven't even got a mic set up. I felt the spontaneous urge to film, so I thought I'd take it up whilst the vibe is hot. I don't think this is going to be the permanent backdrop for sure. It's a little messy, a little chaotic. Also, all of my horror stuff is here, which is above the camera, which is useless to you because I can't show it off, you can't see it. But I don't think this is going to be the backdrop, but it'll do for now. Also, the last time you saw me, I had 1 tattoo, now I have 5. Had originally a star to begin with, a tiny star in honour of Rachel Berry from Glee, I know. Then I added some bats. Then I've got Emily from The Corpse Bride. These two are done by the same artist, Abby. She's amazing. And then I have 2 on my legs. I have Tiffany on this side, and then I have Morticia and Lily Monster on this side. I designed both of them myself. Slay. Also, look at this poster. How sick is she? Look. I got it from HorrorCon at the weekend, and all you can see is Jennifer Tilly's tits. Love. Also got this one, and we have obviously Laurie Strode up there. I just want to yap about For the Love of Horror for a minute because it was wicked. I had a great time. It was so cool. The Friday night was insane for me. There was 2 screenings. There was Halloween with Nick Castle and then Terrifier 3 with Lauren Rivera and Elliot Fulham. Both were wicked. But seeing and watching Halloween with the Michael Myers was just an out-of-body experience. It was so fucking cool and he was so granddad-like. I just wanted him to adopt me. He came out into the audience and it was really intimate and really cool. And Elliot and Lauren were just as cool. They were amazing. It was great to be in a room full of like-minded people who also cheered when Art the Clown murdered someone. But if you live in the UK and you've never been to For the Love of Horror, definitely go. There's one in April next year. It's such a welcoming environment and it's so cool, and you get to meet like-minded people who are just as weird as you are. But anyway, Black Phone 2. Let's talk about my expectations going into the film, I guess. I love the first film. I remember going to see it in Greenwich about 4 or 5 years ago. I loved it ever since I saw it. I love Scott Derrickson. I think he's a really talented director. He's definitely an auteur, I'll give him that. He knows his aesthetic and he knows what he wants to go for, he knows the vibes. I also love Sinister and I love Ethan Hawke. I think the 2 young actors in this film are fantastic, so I was really excited to see what Black Phone 2 was going to bring. However, not so stoked about how they were going to bring the grabber back around for a second time. But you know, there's a thing called the currency of the realm, and the grabber is such a tantalising character. He's really alluring and really cool. I personally love him. I think in the last 10 years or so we've only really had Art the Clown in terms of iconography of horror icons, and he doesn't talk, you know. I mean, David Howard Thornton is mesmerising. You just want to watch every single thing that he does. And if it's not Art the Clown, then you have the oldies and goodies. You know, you have Pennywise, who is funny. You have Freddy Krueger, who is also funny, I guess. The grabber is a sort of happy medium between the 2. He's got the iconography, he's iconic and he's scary, but he also has some great dialogue. He's a really interesting character and I would love to see more of him. But they did go full Freddy ham on Black Phone 2 sequel, which is fine. I enjoyed it. I personally don't have any qualms with it, but watching some other people talk about it, that's something that they didn't enjoy, was the whole dream sequence thing. So a very brief plot summary. We are introduced back to Gwen and Finney after the events of the first film, and Gwen is having these nightmares, these very vivid dreams, and they're calling her to this camp, this Christian camp, which they go to. It's very isolated, very cold, very snowy, basically the North Pole without Santa. And they go, and then the grabber is there. But the grabber is kept alive through the memories of these 3 boys that he murdered, and their cases are unsolved. These bodies are at unrest. They're giving Gwen clues through her dreams, and the grabber is basically alive and tormenting Gwen and Finney through the power of fear. So basically he's Freddy Krueger 2.0, but with the boys giving Gwen all of these clues, they then solve the case and they bring these 3 bodies to life. It's also bodies to life. They don't bring the bodies to life. They bring these bodies to peace, up through the leg. They were buried under the leg, and they bring up these bodies, and it's also connected to their mum and all sorts of other stuff. It overcomplicated itself a little bit. They find out that Gwen has power in the dream world, and then she then defeats the grabber through that plot device. Let's talk about some things that I really enjoyed about the film, and then some things that I didn't like so much. But I loved this film. Characterisation I really loved. The setting itself definitely felt like a character. It was very Shining-esque, deliberate, I'd imagine. Scott Derrickson is a master of vibes and ambience. I love it. His films always feel so period. I love the period. I was quite on board with the 80s slang. Again, saw a lot of people that they didn't really enjoy that. I love the little Duran Duran references, and all the costuming was great. Perhaps another reason for The Shining maybe being a big influence there. I also love the characterisation of Finney and Gwen. Obviously it's 4 years after the events of the first film, and they play a lot on this is how trauma affects your family, trauma never leaves you, this is how grief affects you. The whole film is kind of an analogy for all of those things, and they don't ham up any of those things. I think something that the film does really well is it handles everything very gently and with just a little dose of each thing just to tell you and to show you that it's focusing on it and it hasn't forgotten about it from the first film, but it moves along with itself. But Finney, we see in the first film, he's very angry and he's doing anything and everything to ignore his trauma. We meet him in the first scene, he's beating up some kid that said something wrong to him. It's very reminiscent of the scene in the first film with Robin. Finney also repeats the line, I can't remember it word for word, gotta give him the blood, put on a show, or something or other. But Finney's angry in this movie, and it's also Gwen's turn to take centre stage, which Madeleine McGraw is more than capable of doing. She's a phenomenal actress. She's feisty as ever, still got a potty mouth, which I personally really like. I love Scott Derrickson's humour. I think it's well timed. It's still very childlike, you know, like calling someone a twat is funny to me. Maybe I've just got a childish sense of humour. Again, I love the It movies. I think they're very similar. Both Goonies with a murderer. And we also have Ernesto, who is played by the same actor that played Robin in the first film, and it's supposed to be his little brother. He's got a little crush on Gwen. That's a nice subplot that you have going on there, and they get together, they like each other. And when they go to this Christian camp, we're also introduced to a lady called Mustang and Armando. All fine, all like as unmemorable as you need them to be. But the bit that everybody wanted and the bit that everybody was there to see was Ethan Hawke as the grabber, sexy as ever. I think he appeared about 50 minutes into the film with some dialogue. There was this wonderful scene with Finney, and he keeps hearing these phones go off no matter where he is, and obviously it's phone boxes that don't bloody work, but he's hearing them anyway, and they get to this Christian camp and they're stuck in it because there's a snowstorm. I haven't really explained this very well, have I? If you've seen the film, I'm hoping it's making sense. Don't watch this if you haven't seen the film. You're like, Charlie, what the fuck are you on about? But he's standing in this phone box and there's a camera. It looks like it was done in one take, but I don't think it was, just a bit of camera magic. And he's on the phone and you see, and then there's like a little boy, and then you see again, then there's the other little boy that got murdered, and then again the other little boy that got murdered. But they do that, they repeat it again, but with the grabber. It's really scary, and Ethan Hawke delivers this masterful little monologue. It's wicked. Their chemistry with each other is just great. It doesn't feel like it's Mr. Beat since the first film. You can really feel his fear and feel the grabber's hunger for him. And obviously the grabber's not alive. The grabber's alive through the memory of Finney and through the fear of the boy. It's all very complicated, but it's okay because I don't really think it needs that much explaining. It's a horror movie, and I felt satisfied with it only when I was listening to other people and what they thought of the movie. Did I realise there was plot holes in it? I also didn't realise whilst I was sitting in the theatre that it was Fulham Nightmare on Elm Street. I was just enjoying what I was getting. There was one scene, it's probably my favourite scene in the whole film actually. Gwen is having this dream sequence and she goes into, it looks like what is the kitchen hut. She goes into some kitchen and there is like an oven door, fire oven door, I don't know, obviously a reference to the incinerator, I'm guessing, from Nightmare on Elm Street, but there's this dark corner and she's looking into it, and obviously it's in that Super 8 film that Scott Derrickson does so well. That's how he alludes to us that it's dream sequence time, or we're in the normal realm. I really enjoyed that. But there's this dark corner and you see Ethan Hawke just wander out of it, and then they do like this sequence where he tries to put her in the fire and Ernesto pulls her back out with Finney. They're all looking at her like, what the fuck is going on, because they obviously can't see the grabber, they're just seeing her get the shit kicked out of her. And then when all is said and done, he goes back into this little shadow thing once he came. It was so magically done. I loved it. Another scene I will rant and rave about from this film until I get to see it again was the fucking ending. There was like a zombified grabber and I was nearly peeing my pants with excitement. There was a scene at the end where Gwen and Finney were defeating the grabber, and he was lay down on the floor, and Gwen pulls the bottom half of his mask off, and you see underneath his mask he's just all gore, no lips and just his teeth. And then they pull the top half of his mask off and he's like zombified grabber, and to me it was just sexual. It was like orgasmic. It was beautiful. I think it was practical effects. Not sure if it was special effects like CGI or practical effects. Either way, it looked marvellous. It was really exciting, and the gore on a whole really amped up. I don't care about killing the kids. Kill them fucking kids. I don't care. I loved it. One of the kids had like his head chopped in half, and there was a scene where we saw it and his like skin just went peeled off. It was wicked. I can now quote Lauren Rivera. When we went to go and see Terrifier 3, she was saying, kill them fucking kids. Kill the kids. It's a very taboo topic, isn't it, in the horror community? Like, do we kill the children or let the children live? And again, kill the fucking kids. Especially with Black Phone, I think it's a really clever device. Finney and Gwen, especially in the first movie, are children, right? They're still children in this movie. So why not kill the teenagers? Why not kill the kids? Because that's like, if you're talking to that target audience, if you're talking about either whether it's the inner child or it's literally the physical representation of a child, like why would you not then mirror it with that fear of that safety? Like if the protagonist is a child and a hero, then why not? I don't know. Some genius in the comments trying to decipher what I'm trying to say, but I think it's a great thing. Now, what didn't I like? Not really much. The only thing I wasn't a big fan of was the little kiddies floating up to the service and then writing cryptic messages on the ice. I wasn't a fan of that. And then it turns out to be that the letters were WBH, while Bill Hancock, which was like the nickname for the grabber, when he was at this Christian camp with Armando and their mum, Gwen and Finney's mum. And Gwen and Finney's mum was onto the grabber. She had a premonition of the first child in their neighbourhood being kidnapped, and she saw it and she went to go and run away, and the grabber grabbed her. We're always told that she killed herself, and she didn't. The grabber did murder her to look like a hanging. And there's also a little subplot with Gwen and her father learning the truth about this. I really enjoy that. If I have any other sort of qualm with this film, it's that I wanted to see more of the relationship between their dad, like the kids and their dad, because it's so nurtured upon in the first film. Like, he's a shit. He's abusive, he's horrible, he's not very nice, and he comes to a conclusion at the end of the movie. And then in the second film, at the beginning, he's kind of like, nah, you're chill, don't stay up too late, like, and Finney smoking weed outside at the front of the house. It wasn't a bad thing. It wasn't a bad thing. I just wish I would have seen more of it, but I guess it was quite nice. I think because the second film is Gwen's as well, it's not Finney's. I think Finney's relationship with his dad is more of a thing, whereas Gwen clearly in the whole first film is longing and yearning for her mother, and it would make sense for the second film to answer the questions about their mother. I do think Scott Derrickson spelled it out a little bit too much for the audience. Like, we didn't need the whole Wild Bill thing. I mean, if the grabber is alive through the fear of these children, we're going to put two and two together that he killed the kids, you know? Kill them fucking kids. We're going to come to the conclusion. It wasn't necessarily like a, you know, it wasn't a negative. It was just, I wish he would have been a little bit more trusting. And there's just some things that overcomplicated it a little bit. The whole thing tying it back to the mum made sense. It made fine sense, but it kind of got rid of a little bit of the allure and a little bit of mystery surrounding the grabber, and it had to like make everything tie together. Like, why did the grabber pick Finney? I thought Finney was just a random kid. Why was Finney able to defeat the grabber? Like, now we've got questions about that, because was he special because he murdered their mum, or what? It was also reminiscent of another horror film set in 1978. It did feel very Halloweeny, which, again, doesn't bother me. There's a lot of references in this film to other horror films. I always think Scott Derrickson was referencing himself a little bit. Whatever, innit? The Super 8 filmy stuff I personally do very much enjoy, and I'm a sucker for the whole plot device of like, in the dreamland you can die, in the dreamland's real, not dreamland. I personally really enjoyed it. And if they came out with a third one, I'd like it to go backwards instead of forwards. I'd like to see a prequel of The Grabber, because I just, again, like I said, I think he's such an entertaining and cool and enticing character. But anyways, let me know what you thought of Black Phone 2, if you also saw it and if you enjoyed it, or if you didn't, let me know any other videos you'd like to see. I'm definitely thinking about doing a roundup of the films I've watched so far this year, which means you'll get to hear me talk shit about The Conjuring 4, which I did not like at all. Maybe I need to just do a whole separate video on how much I hate Michael Chaves. Maybe I should do one of those. Ta-ta for now, and I will see you in the next video, hopefully very soon. Hopefully we go back to some regular programming. See you in the next video.